Hey, script supervising. Yes, I'm a scripty in a USC short film. It's crazy. What's up? Is a culture detective here investigating your favorite albums. And today I'm back. I haven't uploaded anything in the last 3 or 4 days. I know I am a busy man. I have become a busy man. But anyways, today I'm going to be doing an album review on the new Liturgy album, 93696. So, avant-garde black metal outfit Liturgy is back from Brooklyn, New York. And they're probably still in Brooklyn, New York. And this is their latest album, 93696. And if you don't know what these numbers means, apparently it is a thelemic numerological representation of the concept of heaven. So if you're not familiar with Liturgy's music, essentially they make avant-garde black metal music that is simultaneously sounds like a message from God. And their music isn't just your average Christian gospel music. They basically take the biblical themes and messages to a whole new level where you feel like you're ascending to heaven with its crazy metaphysical ultra uber philosophical themes and vocabulary. Yeah, it's pretty hard to describe the type of music they make, but so far I've been really enjoying their music, especially in the year 2019 when they released the album HAQQ. It ends up being one of the most interesting, fascinating, and groundbreaking avant-garde black metal albums I've heard at that point. And even so now. And that is also one of the first few black metal albums that I truly enjoyed, because even though it is extremely artsy, abstract, transcendental, and theological, it is simultaneously very catchy, tight, and succinct with incredible production. So I really enjoyed HAQQ. I think a year later they released a follow-up album called Origin of the Alimonies, which I wasn't really a huge fan of because instead of the crushing black metal that is very epic and bold, we essentially get some tracks that sound like leftovers. They're a little too abstract and a little too experimental than it calls for, but still Liturgy remains to be one of the most interesting musical acts. Now they have released a new album, and it is by far their largest and most ambitious album to date. This album is 1 hour and 22 minutes long. And essentially, there are 4 parts to this album, and every single part represents a law of heaven or Haligon. And the 4 laws are sovereignty, hierarchy, emancipation, and individuation. And yeah, it's very difficult to sit through this whole album because to me, this album is like one intense, life altering, mind crushing, Paul blinded by God type beat experience. But it is indeed one of the most unique releases of the year so far. So the first part of the album is Sovereignty, starting off with Daily Bread. We thank our daily bread, and it starts off with the sorrowful, archaic group vocals and a tiny droning organ. It's essentially a 2-minute intro that leads into Generation. And it's funny because Liturgy already has a track called Generation off of their album Aesthetica, which is probably the first track I've heard from them, and it's fucking amazing. It's an amazing track. But this time it's Generation, but it's DJENN. Gen, like gent music. So you get the repeating guitar chords. But this is actually way less repetitive than the original Generation, and instead we get an 8-minute epic bombastic extravaganza with 10 layers of thunderous guitars, bursting drum beats, flutes, recorders, glitchy moments. It is more theatrical than it is catchy, and I do love it when Liturgy makes some catchy structured music, but there's also something so bold and just over the top about this that I really love. I also like the next track, Kaela or Sila, leave me alone. With the rising guitar arpeggios paired with banjos and it's an insane instrumental combination. I love how in the middle of the track it breaks down into these chunky riffs. And then we have Angel of Sovereignty with the angelic choir vocals, which I think is just fine, nothing all that great. Next up, we have the part that is Hierarchy, which I think might be the weakest part on the entire album. We have Hailgun 2, which is a 9-minute long gospel black metal epic with some auto-tuned talk box vocals chanting hymns or whatever. And while I think it is very interesting to involve auto-tune talk box vocals onto a black metal track, at the end of the day, I don't think these two musical choices match with each other. The downtrodden pianos are great. I love how multifaceted and oddball and disjointed this track is, but structurally it is a little bit too much of a mess for me to really enjoy. The next track, however, Before I Knew the Truth, is way better in my opinion. Without the distortion and the glitches, this could be like a fantasy film soundtrack with its zigzaggy riffs and bursting recorders. The track Angel of Hierarchy is a weird interlude where we are hit with some simple, cool, icy keyboards for 3 minutes, and then that is followed with Red Crown 2, which is another interlude where we get some ASMR nails hitting wooden surfaces and a pretty rustic recorder duet, which is quite nice actually. Entering the third part, Emancipation, we have Angel of Emancipation, which is another interlude with some simple, cool, icy keyboards. The fact that this album has 3 interludes in a row definitely messed with the momentum of the album a little bit, but the rest of the album is pretty amazing. We have An and On with the epic choir vocals, the front woman of the band, Hala Revena Hunt-Hendrix, what a name, gives some of the most aggressive shrieks on the album. It's a bold and powerful track. And then we are hit with the title track, which is a 15-minute epic that rivals some of the most ambitious tracks Tool has ever released. The groovy drum rhythms, the icy bells, and the authoritative descending guitar riffs are all so freaking majestic. It's actually crazy. And then the breakdown in the middle of the track, and then the way it pushes up to the most climactic epic possible is just absolutely insane. The last part of the album is Individuation. We have Hailgun 2 Reprise, which is a reprise of the Hailgun 2 track except with simple banjos and guitars. And for some reason, I like this a lot more than Hailgun 2 itself. It's a lot more gorgeous. Angel of Individuation has the cinematic swelling strings, and it builds up to become a transcendental orchestral moment in the album. The track Antigone is a 14-minute monster with foreboding beds of drony strings, some angular mathematical polyrhythms in the middle section, with tons of key changes and pummeling beats, and then finally the album ends off with Immortal Life 2, which sort of mirrors the opening track, but this time with lovely prickly guitars and choir vocals. So yeah, at least the album ends off on a very, very strong note. And the title track might be the most ambitious and insane track the band has released, and it is amazing. So yeah, I don't really know how to feel about this album at the end of the day, because this is not the kind of album that I would listen to again and again. Whereas HAQQ is catchy enough for me to listen to it from time to time. So I definitely still enjoy HAQQ a little bit more than this one, or Hack, whatever. HAQQ sounds better. But I still have to admit this is some of the most innovative, ambitious, bold, cinematic, transcendental, spiritually lifting black metal I've heard in a very long time, if not my whole life. I'm giving this new Liturgy album, 93696, a light to decent 8 out of 10. So have you listened to the new Liturgy album? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.